Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SIP. You're in the right place. We'll give everyone a minute and a half to get loaded, and we will get started at 2:02 Eastern.
And I'm seeing looks like the window
Okay,
washer cables are outside my window, so maybe we'll have a visitor. Uh,
that'll be fun.
we'll see. Yeah, maybe we'll have another guest, surprise guest on the SIP for the Grand Hyatt window washing crew. So
I am afraid of heights, and like even seeing those cables gives me
I
anxiety.
know, same here, same here. Like that is the last job I'd ever want to have.
Yeah,
Apparently, though,
and
there's drones that are now doing it. Someone was telling me, so it's like,
yeah, why not? That is amazing.
yeah,
Well, that is the world that we live in. It's
yeah. Maybe
the
it's the same drones we said and had in Phoenix, right?
yeah, yeah.
Window
They
washing
were-
by day.
they are entertainers by night
Yeah,
and they work their professional window cleaning
yeah.
job during the day. It's quite possible.
Making ends meet when you're a drone, yeah.
While we wait to get started, everyone out there, drop in the chat where you are sitting today. So Theo is joining us from San Diego, making his way over to the Meridian Link conference. And I am at my usual home base in southeastern Ohio on the farm. So at least someone drop something in the chat so that we know that you can actually hear us. That would be great.
McHenry, Illinois.
Thank you, Marty.
Richmond, CA. You got, all right, we got a nice
We're
bunch.
covering central United States. Let's go. And we got the coast. We got a New Jersey, a California, and then central United States representing. So very cool. Um, Theo, where are you normally? You're in Seattle?
Seattle. Yep. We're
Are you
headquartered.
are you headquartered at Friday Harbor?
No, no, I wish because yeah, Friday Harbor is like an idyllic little like Jimmy Buffett kind of beach town. No, we're in downtown Seattle. Our office is actually literally across the street from Meta's office,
Oh,
Meta's Seattle
cool.
campus. So
Yep.
a lot
I-
of little engineers in our area.
Yeah, I would say. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the SIP, where the best conversations in mortgage happen. This is a place where leaders get real, share what is actually working, and push each other to think bigger. We do not do talking points here. We do honest dialogue and we dig deep into those things that the industry is challenged by. We are now live on LinkedIn. We used to do this show for our lender members and then we would go out to the industry. But for those of you who do not know me, I'm Jody Hall. I'm the CEO and president of the Mortgage Collaborative. And I'm happy for all of you to join us today. Today's episode is sponsored by Friday Harbor, not the location, but the technology. If you've been in any of our TMC working groups lately, or if you caught our recent Pulse of the Network, you already know the name is coming up. Lenders are asking about Friday Harbor, and that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because our platform is solving real problems in a real way, and we're going to get into that today. So, joining me today is Theo Ellis. He is the CEO and founder of Friday Harbor. Theo, welcome to the SIP.
Thanks, Jody. Great to be here.
Thanks for taking time to be holed up in your hotel before you go over to the conference. And for those of you, you may not have heard us talking, but there are window washers in the background that might make a guest appearance behind Theo. Theo and I both are completely stressed out because we're afraid of heights, and the anxiety of seeing the cables is gonna throw. If someone does appear and I have a panic attack, like Amy, if you could
We'll
just
close
jump
the
in and take
curtains.
over,
If
that'd
this
be
is
great.
triggering for anyone, we can close the curtains at any point.
But Theo, let's get started. Friday Harbor describes itself as helping loan officers assemble complete, accurate, and fully underwritten loan files in real time, day or night. That's a big promise. It is an issue that I have seen for my 26 years in the mortgage industry, the battle between complete files and incomplete files between sales and operations. So unpack this for us. What problem were you trying to solve when you built Friday Harbor?
Yeah. What we were trying to solve initially was really the problem of messy loan files. So the idea was, hey, when you talk to ops people and you ask them, hey, what is the difference between a four-touch underwrite file and a one-touch underwrite file and a borrower who can get clear at close in 15 days or less? It really comes down to file quality at submission. Um, and so we kind of approached the problem from, hey, if we can build an AI underwriting engine that can accurately look at loan files and tell you issues in the file up front, why wait until a file has already been submitted to underwriting to use that? The best place to use that is actually upstream so you can increase file quality. And what we learned along the way was actually um, the biggest impact of this, what we're calling AI pre-underwriting now, is actually on the sales side. So we built the product trying to help ops folks. Like, hey, how do we just get cleaner files in here so we can kind of leverage the productivity of processors and underwriters? But then we learned that actually putting our capability in the hands of LOs, LOAs, processors actually helps them pull through more borrowers. So it becomes a massive sales lift when you can anticipate issues earlier in the process.
Yeah, and that is something too. We know that oftentimes people in sales positions, especially if they're not big producers, they have a very difficult time moving on. So if they need an answer to a question, they're going to sit idle until someone gets to that and answers the question for them. They struggle to move forward and get more deals. So you're also slowing down what their ability to produce is if they can't transition back and forth between multiple loan files at the same time. Now, when you say real time, day or night, I
Yeah.
want to make sure that the audience hears that clearly because the alternative for most lenders right now is that piling up queue that may or may not have some sort of prioritization logic to bubble it to the top while other loans get kicked down, but nobody sees it until Monday morning. What does this actually look like when it works with Friday Harbor?
Yeah, so Friday Harbor is really built to just be incredibly easy to implement and use as early in the process as possible, right? So you don't need to label files, you don't need to sort files, you don't need to do anything. We tend to sync directly into the Encompass, Meridian Link, or whatever proprietary LOS someone's using. We pull the files in, we do our own labeling, categorization, data extraction, and then we run a complete AI underwriting engine, including qualifying income and assets, and then looking for issues across credit, income, asset, and collateral, and pushing those back as conditions. So what you tend to see is within 15, 20 minutes of receiving that initial file submission, you have what looks like a human underwriter who's done an extremely thorough review of the file up front, and you can use that as an originator, as a sandbox to find opportunities to solve problems, to work with that borrower in those initial hours when they're so engaged. Because sometimes we'll hear from originators, well, I don't want to find problems. I don't want to like create trouble for my borrowers. Everything we find, your underwriters are going to find eventually. We're just bringing them up when you're dealing with that borrower on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m. and they're eager and ready to give you their documents and explain to you those Klarna payments and explain to you that large deposit. Get it all done then. And you've created a much better borrower experience, a borrower who's going to be stickier, who's less likely to shop you for a rate. You've got pulled them into the funnel earlier rather than waiting those weeks. So yeah, we're a true AI company, so there's no humans in the loop. There's no offshore. It's really happening in real time, exclusively using artificial intelligence.
Yep. And I think that if salespeople are able to tell that story too, it makes them look like industry experts to
Yes.
say, hey, we have this available, and maybe that keeps people from shopping. Here's a question that I have been asked, and I know that many of the lender members that you're talking to are asking you too. There are a lot of vendors in this space that, I mean, 3 years ago, there were two. maybe,
Yep.
in this space. And now there are many vendors who have similar promises or who have AI underwriting solutions. What makes Friday Harbor different, and how should lenders be evaluating that?
Yeah, I would say three things. The first is we're built using modern AI technology from the ground up, which means that we've been built in a post ChatGPT world. We're doing literally thousands of large language model calls under the hood. We're using agents under the hood. And what that really means at the end of the day, because those are just buzzwords, what that really means at the end of the day is you're getting a comprehensive, accurate response from our system, even with the messiest files, right? We can handle the messiness of the real world in a way that AI technologies from even 5 years ago would just kind of need plain vanilla. They need you to fit in the box. Like we can handle all the messiness of the real world. The second thing I would say is we're production scale, right? So I hear you, Jody. There's a lot of kind of folks coming into the industry, saying that hey, we can use AI to solve this problem. It's very different once you're operating at the scale of major lenders versus what you can get in a kind of prototype, a toy environment, something you can kind of quote unquote vibe code. Friday Harbor is operating at a scale where we're working with three of the top 15 IMBs in the country. We're working with 30 lenders. We've kind of seen how difficult this can be, and we embrace how difficult and messy it is, and we're enterprise ready. And the third thing I would say, which to me is the most important, is that we've really designed our product to work at the front of the process where you can have the greatest impact. So I think it's certainly beneficial to have underwriters and processors using AI to help them get through their workflow, to spend less time doing stare and compare. But by the time it's in their hands, you've kind of lost the potential for the biggest lift. We're seeing if you use Friday Harbor at the front of the process, and we have data that supports this, we see teams where we see some of their production using Friday Harbor and some that doesn't use Friday Harbor. And the part that does use Friday Harbor can see up to 7 points higher pull through, right? So that means they're getting 7, 8 more loans to submission out of every 100, that those loans would just walk away, right? So that's huge revenue impact. That's money you've already spent. You already have the fixed overhead on that. These are just borrowers who maybe they're like you were saying earlier, Jody, like it's a difficult file. It's an FHA file. It's an MI file. And you just kind of get too slow. You get tripped up on it and you lose that borrower. If we do this at the front, we can pull through those borrowers, and we have the data to support that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very important distinction because what I hear from our lender members all the time is they've bought technology, they've looked at solutions, but it turned out to be another layer of complexity. So they don't
Yeah.
see that return on investments. And your approach is extremely different. It's not about lowering underwriting costs, which it can have the same impact, but it's about increasing pull through.
Yep.
What is the conversations that you're having with lenders who have been blurred by this? That if they have implemented a competitive solution that hasn't worked for them, how are you able to overcome that objective because they feel as though this is just another one of those?
Yeah, and to be fair, there's a lot of lenders who will use multiple AI solutions. We work complementarily, with some of the other products out there. Just like today, you have an LOA, a processor, an underwriter who kind of have some overlap in roles. It's not the end of the world if you have, tools that are maybe overlapping in some ways, if it means higher file quality and more pull through. So I never tell a client, oh, you have to get rid of X vendor or whatever. We can
Yep.
kind of again, this is an industry where you want accuracy, you kind of want checking the checkers, so there's nothing wrong with that. What we'll see is that typically when lenders, use our system on real files, they're just wowed by the level of detail. This is like human level underwriting where we're finding things buried on page 30 of a divorce decree, or finding the Klarna payments, finding, we had one where it was a tax return where the subject property was mentioned as a rental like 2 years ago, and the borrower is refinancing it as a primary, and we caught this one little indication of it. So just the level of detail and specificity and handling the messiness of the real world is really new and pretty exciting. And then once you put it in front of originators and you see how excited they get, I think teams get it like, well, okay, this is a product that's actually going to attract
Yeah.
LOs. If I'm in the retail business, it's going to get them excited.
Yeah. Sometimes loan officers hate when the system's right, though.
Yeah.
They see if they can drag that to be decline out just a little bit longer in case something changes. Just hang on to it. But let's push a little more from the lender's perspective. When a CEO or a COO is sitting across the table evaluating this, what are the questions that they should be asking that they're not?
Yeah, I would say it really comes down to pull through, like what's the impact on the front of the process, and how are you helping to improve sales? Because I think we've gotten so trained into thinking, save money on processing and underwriting, efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. And I think we're in a new world where we can think more in terms of growth and the revenue impact of products like this. So I would say to probe on that. I would say to make sure you, especially if you're dealing with, newer technologies like admittedly Friday Harbor, talk about, working at scale and working at production scale with large lenders because I'll tell you, like there are engineering challenges that you face when you scale LLM-based systems that you don't face in traditional software, and you have to kind of just grow through them and figure out how to solve them. So you probably don't want to necessarily have to, be on the receiving side of that if you can help it. So understand, what stage they're at. And I would say, to verify that this is, you're looking at products that are using modern AI tooling. Not kind of. I think we're in a world where you can build incredibly powerful products now, but you can't be afraid of using the latest technologies just because they require some new skill sets out there. So how new is the AI technology? Are you operating at production scale? And what's the impact on sales, not just on cost savings on the ops side? That's kind of what I would be asking.
Okay, awesome. I want to zoom out for a minute because when you talk to members about where they are focusing right now, we just had our Pulse of the Network. We do it 2 times a year where we poll our lender members, and the list is consistent. We almost can bet on what some of those answers are going to be, but their focus is typically AI adoption, reducing friction, improving
Mhm.
efficiency, and driving down the cost to originate, and also driving down cycle time. So those are the conversations happening in every boardroom. Where does Friday Harbor hit all of these points? We know it
Yeah, I
hits
mean,
AI adoption. Sounds like reducing friction, but maybe dive a little bit more on the file further downstream in that operations and how that helps drive down cycle times and improve efficiency.
yeah, we find that lenders who use Friday Harbor will see files typically after submission to underwrite become clear to close between 1 and 5 days sooner because they're getting cleaner files. Now, exactly how much time you save, that's the one where we actually need the lender to do the
Yep.
change management, right? Because it's how you implement these products. There's only so much Friday Harbor can do if it's just being used informationally. If an organization is willing to use Friday Harbor as a gate before submitting to underwrite, or to rely on it more and more, that's when you can get that cycle time reduction. I think the friction impact happens almost immediately. You don't need the change management. As long as LOs and originators are using Friday Harbor, they're going to deliver a better borrower experience because you look at the data on what drives consumer experience, and you can look at Stratmore's data on this. It's really simple stuff. It's like, do you give me a needs list? Do you not ask me for the same document multiple times? Do you give me a realistic timeline? Those are easy things to say, especially for me as a non-originator. Oh yeah, just do that, right? When you're dealing with real world messy files, it's hard because you don't know what you don't know. So we believe by equipping that originator with all that knowledge up front, so they know where the landmines are in this file, they can deliver that frictionless experience, and that's how they can remain competitive, with some of the digital lenders out there that are really really focused on kind of the frictionless borrower experience, no human touch.
And the cost to originate is something I think gets covered in every time someone's in conversation, just because it's become astronomically huge. And it doesn't seem like we've been able to, over 3 or 4 years, make a dent in it. If anything, it's getting worse and margins are getting
Yeah.
worse. But it's a very stubborn number in business. We have watched it climb for years, and one of your clients stated that they boosted fulfillment productivity by 35%. Did they see equal or greater reduction in the cost of a loan origination? Because really, lenders are looking for return on investment, not just it's a compelling argument to
Yep.
increase your pull through, but are they seeing a reduction in the cost per loan?
Yes. So, I mean, when you look at the cost to originate, there's a numerator and there's a denominator. So you have to kind of like, what can we do to grow the number of loans we're originating on the top over the fixed cost that we can't do anything about. So a large part of that cost to originate, if we're honest with ourselves, there's like, two big drivers that are harder to impact here, which are the LO comp piece and the fact that we've been in a kind of subdued market for a number of years.
Yep.
If you can make sure that you're in a position where when the market comes back, that denominator isn't going to grow with you, where you can keep your fixed cost base stable or grow at a lower rate than the numerator, than that growth in business, you're going to be in a great position to reduce your cost to originate and increase, your profitability on a margin basis. And that's what we are seeing with some of our with our lenders right now, is that they're seeing, when spring comes back, when the market's growing, they're saying they're not needing to add additional processors and underwriters. They can kind of scale up, scale down using Friday Harbor, right? And then you're also it's a better relationship to have with your employees, where you're not saying, oh yeah, this is a feast and famine business and you're going to be gone when the market's down. We're going to use the technology to scale up and scale down, and we're going to invest in you and your expertise. I do think over the long run, Friday Harbor does create some opportunities for lenders on the LO comp side too, because there's going to be a new generation of loan officers coming into this industry in the next 5, 10 years. And they might expect technology, which is a little different. They might not want to, study, seller's guides and feel like they need to be under the wing of a branch manager for years. They might want a tool like Friday Harbor that kind of just gives them the easy street to how to originate a loan, and they can focus on sales, building relationships, bringing in the borrowers. And you might be able to negotiate, stronger compensation packages using that kind of leverage. So I do think there's multiple ways that a technology like Friday Harbor can help on the cost side, not just on the pure, okay, yes, we will make the underwriters and processors more efficient, but how can we actually help you attract younger, newer LOs to the industry?
Yeah. I think you've been listening in on my phone calls, because I had
Oh,
two conversations this morning that were similar to this, that, the cost to originate, half of the cost, or at least 40% of the cost, is LO comp.
yep.
And as lenders spend more money to drive loan origination, so top of the funnel leads, and provide loan officers more tools to be able to do more selling and less worrying about the loans that are in the pipeline, we have to be able to drive down that, what the commissions are paid. You can't continue to pay the expected, 100 to 150 basis points when you're doing a large percentage
Yeah.
of the work. And the other thing that we were talking about is, we really, from a training perspective, are getting to the point where the technology is going to train those up and coming loan officers. So those individuals that are willing to adopt technology very likely can train themselves by other technology solutions if they're following Friday Harbor and they're doing snippets of, what does loan to value mean, what does debt to income ratio mean, what's a home inspection, and doing those like self-help learning, like the whole, what a loan officer looks like in the future could be extremely different because of AI adoption.
And I have a funny little anecdote on that point. And I promise I was not listening to your phone calls, Jody. But like we had, so two of our engineers were actually in the market for homes recently, and they used Friday Harbor on their own kind of loan applications, and they worked with a Friday Harbor lender too. And these are two AI engineers, right? And they were looking at it and they're going, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know I had this and that." And they were like learning about their own financial situation and how they would originate a loan for themselves through Friday Harbor. And at the same time, they were still really eager to get on the phone with this human LO who's a Friday Harbor customer, because
Yep.
even though the engineers who built this product, they're like, wait a second, I just want to talk this through with you. And am I understanding this right? And why do you need
Yep.
this letter of explanation? So it was really funny
Yep.
how it amplified that, like, that need for the human
Yeah.
relationship. And also they realized, hey, they were a little out of their depth trying to originate this for themselves.
Yeah. The other conversation that we were having was uh, um, oh, I just slipped my mind. About the need to change, because we really, this started probably in 2020, 21. And we said, or maybe it was in between 21 and 2022. And we as lenders were like, we're never going to do this again. We're never going to hire up and fire, hire and fire. Well, guess what? We got a little bit of a blip in applications, and we start seeing all over LinkedIn people looking for underwriters, people looking for
Yeah.
processors. And I don't think we did enough during the downtime to be prepared for an influx of business. And I feel like we're like just like very near getting an influx of business, and it's going to really tell the story how many people were prepared, how many people made the changes that needed to be able to scale.
Yeah.
And I I think a lot of people are going to get COVID, and they're going to be doing the same thing that they talked about not doing. And eventually that cycle has to end. Like eventually it results into companies going out of business, needing to be acquired by companies who do have it right. So I think that we're just on the cusp of a very big transition of what the landscape of mortgage lending looks like in a number of perspectives.
Yeah, when a lot of these tools and like Friday Harbor go from this is a cool thing we tried when the market was down, but we didn't need it to like, okay, now this is essential to us being able to scale. We're going to rely on it. Like that is,
Yep.
we're entering that moment and it's exciting.
Yep. And that also helps with change management because
Yeah.
the minute the underwriting turn times become 7 days, then everybody's like, give me the
Yes.
AI
Okay. I need
help.
that 1 day turn time. Yeah, exactly. So true. And yeah,
Yep.
that's another thing
So
we see a lot of good practice on our lenders is like create a fast lane. Like if you
yeah.
want adoption, tell people if they use Friday Harbor, you'll get put this at the top of the pile for underwriting.
Yeah, that is amazing. Before we close, I want to talk about where Friday Harbor is headed. What is on the roadmap and what should lenders be paying attention to over the next several months with you?
Yeah, well, we're growing and we're very excited to be working with TMC members and lots of new customers. I would say from a product standpoint, we're very focused on kind of moving beyond the world of problems to the world of opportunities and solutions. And what I mean by that is, yes, we're pre-underwriting. Yes, we're looking for issues in the loan file. But now we're actually at a place where we can help loan officers find opportunities in the file. So, hey, is there some income that you missed here? We saw this the other day with an LO who missed that there was a supplemental Social Security income, $3,000 of additional income for this borrower. So, finding additional income that can help someone get over the line, finding opportunities for different products that might be a great fit for the borrower to get into a better rate, just finding ways to simplify a file, right? Like, hey, you have two borrowers in this file, you could still qualify with one. Why don't we just simplify this? I think there's a lot of ways we can go from a world of just finding problems to actually really helping originators structure and create files, the best, simplest file they can. And that's how we're going to get even more adoption on the front end.
Yeah. And for those lenders who are hearing this today and want to learn more, please reach out to Theo. And also, if this is conversation that is compelling to you to be able to hear technology companies, what they're doing, how they're approaching business, how they can help you scale your business, that is what our August 12th and 13th ACT Tech Summit is designed for. And a space that we're talking about today is we are having a featured act in which AI underwriting, it's a live AI underwriting RFP, meaning the types of questions that you would be asking if you were looking to adopt AI underwriting technology will be answered in that format. And you'll be able to see many of the AI underwriting competitors go walk through that process as lenders. So please reach out if you're interested in joining there. And for today, that's a wrap for another sip. Theo, thank you for being
Thank
so
you so
straight
much,
with us
Jody.
today and
Yeah.
building something that's clearly resonating in the industry. I appreciate the real stories because it's not just a pitch, it's what actually matters and what our lender members are talking about. And to our TMC community and everyone tuning in across LinkedIn, this is exactly why we do this conversation that cuts through the noise and gets to what actually matters in business. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, May the 19th. Somehow I'll be at secondary, but I'll figure out how to pull that off at 2 p.m. Eastern for our network and for the industry. So come find us. If you're not a TMC member and like to learn more, please reach out to me directly. And until next time, keep the conversation going. And thanks for joining the SIP. Thank you
Thanks,
again,
Jody.
Theo.
And you can find us at fridayharbor.ai.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.